Picture this for a moment. Out there in the deep blue of the Persian Gulf, a floating city of steel cuts through the water. 9,000 tons of metal, nuclear-powered, armed to the teeth, a symbol of American power that can project force anywhere on Earth. An aircraft carrier. When one of these giants enters the Persian Gulf, it's not just another naval deployment. It's a statement, a message sent not only to Iran, but to the entire Middle East. And the question people are quietly asking tonight is simple, but terrifying. Is the most powerful warship ever built truly safe near Iran's shores? Or does Tehran already have the tools to turn a multi-billion-dollar symbol of American dominance into twisted metal on the ocean floor? Tonight, we're not dealing in slogans. We're not cheering for anyone. We're looking at cold facts, history, strategy, and uncomfortable truths. Because what's happening in and around the Persian Gulf right now is not routine. It's a high-stakes chess match, and one wrong move could redraw the map of the Middle East and shake the global economy. Stay with me. Don't skip the next few minutes, because this isn't just about ships and missiles. This is about power, fear, and the mathematics of modern war, the backbone of American naval power. To understand what's at stake, we need to start with the basics. The backbone of the United States Navy is not a single ship. It's something called a carrier strike group. An aircraft carrier never sails alone, ever. It's surrounded by guided missile destroyers, cruisers, attack submarines, and support vessels. Together, they form a mobile fortress, capable of launching airstrikes, defending itself from missiles, and dominating vast stretches of ocean. A single U.S. aircraft carrier carries 80 to 90 advanced combat aircraft, F/A-18 Super Hornets, F-35 stealth fighters, electronic warfare planes, surveillance drones. From that deck, the U.S. can strike targets hundreds of miles inland, without asking permission from any country. The sensors are just as intimidating. Carrier groups can detect airborne and surface threats from hundreds of kilometers away. Their radar systems can track small, fast-moving objects. Their missile defenses are designed to intercept multiple incoming threats simultaneously. This is why, for decades, aircraft carriers have been considered almost untouchable. Almost. So here's the real question. Why doesn't Iran seem afraid? Geography changes everything. Because this war, if it ever happens, will not be fought in the open ocean. It will be fought in Iran's backyard. The key word here is the Strait of Hormuz. This narrow stretch of water, just about 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, is one of the most important choke points on Earth. Nearly 1/5 of the world's oil passes through it every single day, and Iran sits right next to it. That changes the entire equation. In open seas, American technology has space to breathe. In narrow waters, close to hostile shores, even the most advanced systems face limits. And both sides know it. America's likely opening move. If conflict ever erupts, Washington's playbook is not a mystery. The United States does not wait to be hit first. The doctrine is preemptive dominance. Step one would be electronic warfare. U.S. forces would attempt to blind Iran, jamming radars, disrupting communications, cutting links between commanders and units. The goal is confusion, to make Iran feel attacks without understanding where they're coming from. Step two would be air superiority. Carrier-based aircraft and long-range bombers would target missile sites, radar installations, air defenses. Drones would map the battlefield in real time. Stealth aircraft would strike high-value targets. Step three, cyber warfare. Iran's command centers, power grids, and military networks would come under digital attack. On paper, it's a clean plan, fast, precise, overwhelming. This is how modern American war is designed to look. But war never stays on paper. Iran's long memory. Here's the part many people in the West underestimate. Iran has been preparing for this exact scenario for over 3 decades. Tehran knows one hard truth. In a head-to-head conventional war, it cannot outmatch the United States. So it never planned to. Instead, Iran built its strategy around asymmetric warfare, fighting in ways that neutralize American advantages. Think of it this way. If you can't win by punching harder, you win by punching smarter, and from every direction at once. Iran's military doctrine is often described with a chilling phrase, death by 1,000 cuts. The swarm strategy. Let's start with one of Iran's most feared tactics, swarm attacks. Iran has invested heavily in hundreds, possibly thousands, of small, fast attack boats and unmanned drones. Individually, these boats are nothing compared to a U.S. destroyer. But war isn't about individual strength. It's about saturation. In a swarm scenario, dozens or hundreds of small targets approach simultaneously from multiple directions. Missiles, explosive-laden drones, fast boats moving at high speed, hugging the coastline. Advanced radar systems are powerful, but they're not infinite. Tracking, prioritizing, and neutralizing hundreds of small threats at once is extraordinarily difficult. This is where cost becomes a weapon. A U.S. interceptor missile can cost millions of dollars. A small Iranian drone may cost a fraction of that. Even if defenses work, the math becomes brutal. Anti-ship missiles and the hypersonic factor. Then there are Iran's anti-ship missiles, weapons designed specifically to hunt large naval vessels. Some are sea skimming, flying just above the water to avoid radar detection. Others are maneuverable, changing course mid-flight. And now there's a new concern: hypersonic missiles. Iran claims it possesses missiles capable of traveling several times the speed of sound. At those speeds, reaction time shrinks to seconds, not minutes, seconds. Even the most advanced defense systems struggle against weapons that fast. One successful hit doesn't have to sink a carrier to change history. It only needs to disable flight operations, damage command systems, or force a retreat. Symbolism matters in war. Underground cities of steel. And then there's what can't be easily seen. Iran has spent years constructing underground missile facilities, often referred to as missile cities, deep inside mountains, hidden beneath reinforced rock. These sites are designed to survive airstrikes, to launch missiles even after sustained bombardment. Destroying them completely would require a prolonged campaign, something the U.S. may not want in a region already on edge. The global ripple effect. Now step back from the battlefield for a moment. Imagine even a limited clash in the Strait of Hormuz. A few ships damaged, a few mines deployed, temporary disruption. The oil markets would react instantly. Prices would spike. Shipping insurance would skyrocket. Supply chains, from gasoline to food, would feel the shock. This wouldn't just hurt Iran. It wouldn't just hurt America. It would hit Europe, Asia, every country tied to global energy flows. This is why the Strait of Hormuz isn't just a military choke point. It's an economic pressure valve for the entire world. A gamble, not a guarantee. When Pentagon planners model these scenarios, the spreadsheets may look precise, but war is never linear. An aircraft carrier is more than a ship. It's a symbol of American credibility. Losing one, or even risking one, would be more than a military setback. It would be a psychological shock heard around the world, and Iran understands that. For Tehran, this wouldn't be about victory in the traditional sense. It would be about survival, about proving that American power has limits. Two sides, two very different strategies: technology versus geography, precision versus persistence. The Persian Gulf may look calm today, but calm waters have hidden depths. And sometimes silence comes right before the storm, because wars are not decided only by weapons. They are decided by politics, psychology, timing, and pressure from people who never fire a shot. So let's pull the curtain back. Let's talk about the power struggle behind the scenes. Let's talk about the human cost. And finally, let's talk about where this road may actually lead. The war. Behind the war, publicly, Washington and Tehran speak in tough language, statements, warnings, red lines. But behind closed doors, the conversation sounds very different. For the United States, Iran is not just another adversary. It's a systemic challenge, a regional power that refuses to play by American rules. Iran doesn't need to defeat the U.S. militarily. It only needs to deny America control. And that is a dangerous concept, because American global power is built on one core assumption: that U.S. forces can operate freely, anywhere, anytime. Iran's strategy threatens that assumption. The pressure inside Washington. Here's something rarely discussed on cable news. An American president doesn't go to war alone. He carries political weight on his back: Congress, public opinion, markets, allies. A single aircraft carrier carries around 5,000 sailors, sons, daughters, husbands, wives. If something happens to that ship, it's not just a military incident. It becomes a national trauma. Think about how America reacted to much smaller losses in the past. Now multiply that emotionally, politically, symbolically. Any president authorizing operations near Iran understands this. One mistake could end a presidency. That reality shapes every decision in the Situation Room. The pressure inside Iran. Now look at Tehran. Iran's leadership operates under a completely different logic. For them, this isn't about approval ratings or midterm elections. It's about regime survival. Iran's ruling system is built on resistance against Western pressure, sanctions, and isolation. Backing down publicly is not just weakness, it's dangerous. If Iran appears unable to defend its own coastline, its own sovereignty, it sends a message internally. And internal instability is Tehran's greatest fear. So Iranian leaders are boxed in too. They must appear strong, even if strength comes at enormous risk. The invisible players. Now let's talk about the players not wearing uniforms, because this conflict isn't just bilateral. Israel is watching closely. So is Saudi Arabia, the UAE, China, Russia. For Israel, Iran's military posture is existential. Any weakening of Iran's deterrence could be seen as opportunity. For Gulf states, war means chaos, but also leverage. For China, the Strait of Hormuz is about energy security. Beijing doesn't want war, but it also doesn't want America controlling every global choke point. For Russia, prolonged instability in the Middle East weakens Western focus elsewhere. This is not a chessboard with two players. It's a crowded room full of people quietly nudging the table, the civilian reality. Now let's step away from generals and presidents. Let's talk about ordinary people, because they always pay first and pay the most. In Iran, a major conflict would mean airstrikes near cities, power outages, internet shutdowns, economic collapse already worsened by sanctions. In the Gulf states, migrant workers, millions of them, would be trapped in the middle of uncertainty. In Europe and America, the impact would come through prices, gasoline, heating, food. Inflation doesn't wear a uniform, but it hurts just as deeply. A war in the Strait of Hormuz would be felt at American gas stations within days. This is why leaders hesitate, not because they're weak, but because the consequences are brutally real. Now, the three possible futures. Let's get to the heart of it. Based on military balance, political pressure, and historical behavior, there are three realistic scenarios. Not fantasies, not worst-case headlines, real paths this crisis could take. Scenario 1, controlled confrontation. This is the most likely and the most misunderstood. In this scenario, there is limited military contact. Drone shootdowns, cyber attacks, naval harassment, proxy clashes through allies. Both sides test each other but stop short of direct escalation. No carrier is sunk, no cities are flattened. The message is sent without crossing the point of no return. This is dangerous, but manageable. It's the Cold War playbook adapted for the Middle East. The problem? Controlled confrontations rely on perfect discipline, and war is never perfect. Scenario 2. The shock event. This is where history changes. A missile hits closer than expected. A ship is severely damaged. Lives are lost. Suddenly, leaders are no longer choosing. They are reacting. Public pressure explodes. Markets panic. Allies demand action. Escalation becomes automatic. What started as deterrence becomes retaliation. This is how wars start, not by design, but by momentum. And once momentum takes over, stopping becomes incredibly hard. Scenario 3, strategic retreat and redefinition. This scenario is quiet, but profound. The United States gradually shifts away from heavy naval presence near Iran, not publicly announced, not declared as retreat, just repositioned. More reliance on long-range strikes, more regional partners, less exposure of high-value assets. Iran claims victory without firing a shot. America claims strategic flexibility. No one celebrates, but catastrophe is avoided. This would mark the end of an era, the era of uncontested American naval dominance near hostile shores. The real question, nobody asks. Here's the uncomfortable truth. This is not about who has better weapons. It's about risk tolerance. How much risk is America willing to take to maintain dominance? How much pain is Iran willing to absorb to resist it? Both sides are rational, both sides are dangerous, and neither side fully controls how this ends. Final thought. The Persian Gulf looks calm today. Tankers move slowly. Warships glide silently. But history teaches us something brutal. The most devastating conflicts often begin not with explosions, but with miscalculation. If sirens ever sound together with missile fire, that day won't just mark a military clash, it will mark a turning point for global order. So here's the question I leave you with tonight. In a world where technology is unmatched, but geography still kills and politics still blinds, will superpower dominance survive asymmetric warfare? Or are we watching the beginning of a new balance of fear? That answer won't come from headlines. It will come from decisions being made right now behind closed doors. And the world is holding its breath.